What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Eshi and I do a ton of DIYs, personal finance videos, and recently I moved to this brand new apartment in San Diego, California. I am so super excited to start decorating and showing you guys the whole process, and so far I have already started working the magic with peel and stick wallpaper. Now, I've used different brands of peel and stick wallpaper before. I have done 3 accent walls and a ceiling with peel and stick wallpaper, so I am a self-proclaimed queen of peel and stick wallpaper. Now, there are many reasons that I have chosen peel and stick wallpaper over regular wallpaper, one of them being that it is extremely renter friendly. It is also a lot less messy than actual wallpaper. You don't have to use a wallpaper goop to stick it onto your walls, and in turn, it ends up being way easier to clean up when you are leaving that apartment. With peel and stick wallpaper, all you have to do is grab an edge and start tearing away, and it should come off in a full panel. Unlike actual wallpaper that starts only like peeling off in tiny strips, it's a whole mess. So peel and stick wallpaper is a fantastic miracle for renters out there everywhere. And as a self-proclaimed peel and stick wallpaper queen, I have a couple tips and tricks for you when you are applying it. Before we get started on my tips, if you could do me a huge favor and click that like button, and if you are interested in all of my room makeover videos coming up, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about wallpaper pattern for just a second, because it is really important. The kind of pattern or image on your wallpaper will actually determine how easy or difficult it is for you to apply your wallpaper. If you are using a repeating pattern, for example, in my Detroit apartment, the first time I used peel and stick wallpaper, I did a brick pattern. This pattern definitely repeated itself going up and down the wallpaper along with left to right. I also used a fake wood peel and stick wallpaper in my bedroom in Detroit, and that was again a repeating pattern on one panel. Those kinds of repeating patterns are definitely easier to use. Now, here in San Diego, I actually found some more unique wallpaper that is not as easily repeating. And because this is a broader image that spans the width of all of the wallpaper panels, it is harder to line up from panel to panel across the wall. And because of this, it definitely takes more time than a repeating patterned wallpaper. So definitely keep that in mind when you are trying it out for the first time. Maybe start off with a patterned wallpaper, and you can eventually make your way up to these beautiful imaged wallpaper. Up first is prepping for your peel and stick wallpaper. In my Detroit apartment, there were a lot of bumps and textures to the walls there. So I found it super helpful to start off by sanding the wall and then wiping it down with a wet cloth. Here in San Diego, I'm not really finding that the walls are super textured, but it's still always a good idea to wipe it down with a wet cloth to get rid of any dust or debris so that your wallpaper sticks to the wall really easily. Another thing to keep in mind while prepping, the first time I tried to apply peel and stick wallpaper, I decided that it was a good idea to have the one roll cut up into different sections that matched the measurements of the height of my wall. I actually found that this didn't really help me that much, and in the end caused me to have measurements that were a little off from the wall, so I would have to go back and, add in spaces where the wallpaper didn't quite meet the ground. So really, besides sanding and cleaning off your wall, you don't have to do too much prep. Let's talk about the application of the wallpaper next. I typically recommend that you use 2 people for this process. With the patterned, more simple wallpapers, you can probably do it by yourself, but it just always helps to have a second set of hands, especially if it's your first time doing this or you're doing a tricky area like a ceiling. I would recommend that you have one person in charge of actually sticking the wallpaper to the wall, being in charge of lining up that wallpaper to the top of the wall, and as you go down the panels, making sure that the panels are matching up in pattern. They are in charge of actually using a squeegee to push the wallpaper against the wall and make sure everything is sticking. So that is the first person's job. The second person's job is to actually hold the rest of the roll of wallpaper, and as you go down each section, to slowly peel off the backing of the wallpaper so that the first person has time to squeegee that first section, and then you will roll the backing off the next section. And another tip, the second person undoing the backing of the wallpaper as you slowly work down the wall, don't undo too much of the wallpaper at a time. Take it slow and undo the backing very slowly, giving the first person enough time to squeegee everything down. What will happen is if you undo a bunch of the backing of the wallpaper at a time, while the first person is working at the very top, the bottom section will start sticking to the wall and could start sticking to itself, which is a huge issue. So definitely leave that backing on for sections that you're not working on. Take your time with peel and stick wallpaper. The more time that you take, the better it will look inevitably. I would personally recommend that you start left to right with the wall and top to bottom, obviously. I would also recommend that you actually line up the wallpaper with the tops of the wall or the top of the section that you're working on instead of with the sides. Walls are never going to be at a perfect 90-degree angle. They're never going to be perfectly straight or perfectly vertical. So when your eye looks at a wall, it typically sees that the top is lined up perfectly. So that's where I would line up your wallpaper with. If your sides have a tiny bit of a gap between the wallpaper and the actual side of the wall, you don't really notice too much, but you do notice when the top of the wallpaper isn't lined up perfectly with your wall. Now, even though I typically recommend going from left to right on a wall, if the right of your wall is in a more visible area or a more high traffic area, you can always work from right to left. Do not be afraid to unstick sections of your wallpaper and then start to re-squeegee all of those sections. There are a lot of times where when you are squeegeeing down the wallpaper and you're sticking it to that wall, that a major bubble forms and you feel like you can't do anything about it. Just go ahead and unstick the wallpaper from the wall and try again. That is the brilliance of peel and stick wallpaper. It's all just like a massive sticker. So if you mess up, unstick the sticker and try again. When bubbles inevitably form, instead of freaking out immediately, definitely try and push in those bubbles with your hands instead of the squeegee at first, because you'd be surprised how many bubbles immediately go away with just an extra bit of firm pressure. If that isn't working, also try and use a pin and stick the air bubble, and then try pressing everything down to see if that helps the air bubble completely go away. And again, if that doesn't work, just unpeel the sticker and try again. The other great thing about peel and stick wallpaper is that it is a little stretchy. It definitely has a little bit of give. So if you have a massive image that you're trying to put up on your wall and you're really trying to get the panels to line up perfectly, you can always stretch it a tiny bit to make sure everything lines up perfectly. I will warn that the more you stretch peel and stick wallpaper, the more likely it is that you will have bubbles forming in other areas. So definitely be careful to how much you're stretching it, but it does have a little bit of give. When you are finishing off a full wall and you're getting to a corner section, those can be the hardest to finish. For example, if you're doing an accent wall and you have two walls lining that accent wall and you've been moving from left to right, you started on the left, so there were no issues with this left side because the panel just went straight down. But when you move over to the right, maybe that last panel of wallpaper was just a little bit wider than the space you had left to fill on that wall. So the wallpaper starts curving against that edge wall. What I recommend doing is not cutting off the excess to begin with, because you have no idea if you are cutting off too much or too little. What I would recommend is go ahead and start peeling off the backing like you normally would and only squeegee the amount that you can onto your wall. Leave that excess bit of sticky wallpaper just hanging off. It might start sticking to the other wall. That's okay. Just do your best to really squeegee it into that corner. Get all the way down to the bottom, and then you will go back in and you will start to cut off the excess. So now you're done with your application. Let's actually talk about cutting off the excess pieces of your wallpaper. If you have wallpaper that comes in one big roll for your entire wall, I would definitely recommend going from the top down to the bottom and then cutting off that excess and then taking that roll and moving on and going down the wall. If you have wallpaper that comes in multiple rolls because it's a big image, I would definitely recommend using each roll and not cutting off the excess until you're done the entire wall. Then you go back and cut all the excess off. And a major tip I have for you when cutting off the excess pieces of wallpaper is to actually use your squeegee to your advantage. You'll definitely need a sharp retractable knife for this, but you're actually going to hold your squeegee up against the bottom of your baseboard or against the side of your wall, wherever you are cutting that piece of wallpaper off, and you are going to use that X-Acto knife and you're going to rest it on your squeegee, and you're going to use your squeegee as a guide for your hand so that you can get a nice, long, even cut with your X-Acto knife. That clean cut is so satisfying. I'm telling you, if you rest your hand on the squeegee, it's just so easy, so satisfying. And that's it. Those are all of my tips on how you can apply peel and stick wallpaper and make an amazing accent wall. I hope you learned something. Please don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more interior decorating videos coming your way. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. I will see you guys next time.